What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is Queen Sugar season 7 episode 8. So the storm is over. It's the next morning. Ralph Angel and Micah, they get to the house and check on Darla and the baby, and everything is cool. And Micah, Ralph Angel's hand is bandaged up, and Darla asked what happened to your hand, and he was like, nothing, it's no big deal. And Micah is trying to tell Ralph Angel, like, you need to let her know what happened. And he's like, listen, I'll tell her when I'm ready to tell her. I ain't ready to tell her yet, okay? I'll tell her. So, down to the diner, Aunt Vi gets a phone call from the hospital. Jimmy Dale is in the hospital. He's in hospice, and he done put her down as his next of kin. And she said, I ain't his next of kin. I don't know what y'all talking about. But basically, he's dying. They don't know if he's going to make it through the night. And he actually wanted Ava to come and see him. And Ava was like, child, I don't have nothing else to say to him. Like, I have made my peace. I have my closure. I have no reason to go and see this man. But she does talk to Billy, who was down at the restaurant, helping her out. And she says, listen, girl, I don't know if you need closure or not. I don't know what's going to work for you or what's not going to work for you. But let me explain something to you. That's where he is. And he's dying, and if you feel like you need that closure, then you can go talk, you can go see him, but you just got to figure out for yourself if that's what you need. Now, I guess she decided that she don't want to go see him, because later on in the episode, her and Nova, Nova checks on her, and she's like, listen, I don't know, like at this point, I don't know what I have to say to him. She said, I don't know if I want to say it to him. She said, he took so much from me. And she talks about how, he was the first person that believed in her dream. He used to call her Esquire because he knew she wanted to be an attorney. She said, but then I realized that this was just a part of his manipulation. This was just a part of him as a predator, trying to get in good with me, trying to get me to feel comfortable and all of that. And so I realized that it ain't all good, And so Nova says, listen, tell it to me. Like, you don't have to go down there and talk to that man. Tell me everything you want to say to me. And so they have a whole therapy session, child. She yells at him and tells him she lost everything and he cost her everything and he took everything. But, she going to take her power back, right? But it was a moment, I think it was good for them to flesh that out. Oh, let me put a pin in that. Let me go back a little bit. So while they're at the house, Ralph Angel and Darla, they get a phone call from Cornell. His farm is flooding, so they got to round up the troops and get over there because his farm is going to flood into the co-op. And Darla says, well, we'll take separate cars because I want to go check on the mill. And he doesn't want her to take a separate car. And him and Micah acting real funny, but like, yeah, no, he don't need to take a separate car. No. So anyway, back to the diner. I forgot that part. So back to the diner. Darla gets upset with all this conversation about Jimmy Dale and what he did and all of that. And so she's having a whole moment, and Aunt Vi go to check on her, and she actually confides in Aunt Vi about what's going on with Chase. And I called that man, I don't know what I called him last episode, but his name's Chase, right? I got it right this time. And Ava, she said, I should have told Ralph Angel, I should have trusted Ralph Angel, but, I was just trying to handle it. And, I need to let him know. And, Ava tells him, listen, she said, I don't know if we're going to make it through this. And Ava tells her, girl, y'all have been through worse. Like, y'all can make it happen. Like, I got you. I'll support you. You let me know how I can support you. But you got this. You'll be all right. Over to the farm, Ralph Angel is working like crazy. He's taking out all his frustration on, he's yelling at people, and he's, bossing people around, and he's just doing a lot. And Micah is like, yo, Uncle Ralph, like, you good? You good? And he sort of checks himself, but you could just definitely see the whole situation wearing on him, and see how he's trying to process through it. So they save the farm, and, Cornell gives a speech, and he says, listen, I haven't always been gung-ho about this whole co-op thing. Like, I ain't always been cool with this co-op, but I saw today what it means. I saw today the family and the camaraderie and the fact that y'all came no questions asking. Y'all did what y'all did. He said, Ralph Angel, I'm learning from you. I'm learning from you just like I learned from your father. And I want to thank you. He said, the way that you run around here and you're working for all of us and you're trying to save our farms, even though you don't even have yours anymore, he said, that really means a lot. So it was a moment. It was a whole little moment, There was a lot of those moments in this episode. You could definitely tell they're winding stuff down and they're trying to give us some good. He said, well, come on, they hug it out or whatever. And Mike is taking pictures. Mike is getting back to what he does. He's taking pictures. And he said, come on, let's head down to the diner, get something to eat. Ain't Vi waiting on us. So we get down to the diner and we see the guy that was hitting on Billy. He's there. And he knows Joaquin. Well, Joaquin's dad. And he told him, he said, listen, have you talked to your father? And of course, Joaquin is like, no. And he said, listen, your dad told me everything I know about farming, and he daps him up. And him and Hollywood have a good conversation. Hollywood says, I appreciate you taking time, to talk to Joaquin. He's really going through a lot. And he said, nah, he said, that's my man. He said, Joaquin, we got to look out. And Ralph Angel was like, yeah, Hollywood was like, yeah, we got to look out. Those are some good kids. And, they going through a lot. And, we just got to look out for them. And he was like, yeah, no doubt, no doubt, cool. Now, we find out from Billy that the two of them ended up talking and staying up all night talking the night of the storm. And she said he's cool or whatever, but the more I spend time with other men, the more I think about Vince. And Nova tells her, well, that's a good thing. Like, you're processing through your feelings, and you may end up circling back around to Vince. And remember what Vince told her. He said, listen, you figure it out, but if you come back, we're going to do this thing right. We're going to get married, and it's going to be a whole different situation. Now, Nova is proud of herself because she didn't do nothing with the white cop. She said, I'm proud of the fact that I was able to say everything I needed to say to him, and I didn't allow my emotions to get caught up. She said, I have a clean slate. I can tell Dominic what happened and be proud of the fact that I handled myself because I didn't do anything wrong. And for me, that's a big deal. And I'm like, that is a big deal for you, Nova. And I said that last week, that I was so glad that Nova did not fall into this man's arms, right? Now, Billy gonna mess around and tell Nova, they get to reminiscing on when they was kids, and they're talking about, the summer that everything changed for them with Jimmy Dale. And then Nova talks about her ex-girlfriend or whatever, I guess her first love. And that daggone Billy gonna convince her that she think it's a good idea for Nova to call her. She said, well, you resisted temptation with old boy. You probably be able to resist temptation with him. And I'm thinking to myself, Billy, that is not a good idea. Like with Nova, let's not tempt too much. Let's not go too far, okay? Child, so Nova decides she gonna go see this woman. I said, that is not gonna end well, okay? She dodged one bullet. She can't get the second one. So while this is going on, Darla is looking for Ralph Angel because, of course, now she's like, I need to tell him what's going on. Ralph Angel never made it to the diner. So she's like, well, where is he? And everybody's like, well, he was right behind us. We don't know where he went. Darla starts getting nervous. So Michael pulls Darla aside and say, look, I was asked not to say nothing, but old boy came by the farm last night. Him and Ralph Angel got into it. And Ralph Angel been real on edge about it. So, of course, she's like, damn. So she ends up looking for Ralph Angel. She done asked for the keys to Hollywood's truck. Micah told Hollywood was going on, so Hollywood ended up going with her. So, of course, the first place they went was to the farm, and he wasn't there, and the phone lines are down because of the storm. So she's trying to call him, but she can't get in touch with him. And she's like, Hollywood, she said, Ralph Angel is such a good man. He takes care of his family. He works. He takes care of other people. And here I am, I always screw it up. Like, my past always comes back and bites us in the butt. And Hollywood is like, don't blame yourself. Like, that's not it. Like, and he tells her, listen, I have seen, he said, outside of Ralph Angel, I probably know you the best out of anybody because I done seen you at your worst. I have seen you at the bottom. And I have seen what you've done to fight your way back and become the person you are. So please don't beat yourself up. Don't put too much on your shoulders. You're a good woman. You become such a great woman. And I pray for you every day because I know who you are. And she was like, thank you so much. You know, I needed that. I needed that. Now, while this is going on, Ralph Angel gets a text through to let her know where he is, and he down to the pool, child. I said, Lord, he done went from not being able to swim to being but he wasn't in the pool. He was just sitting at the pool. Now, remember, that's where Darla always went when she needed to clear her head. She always went to the pool. So Ralph Angel is there, and Darla is like, look, can we talk about what happened last night? So she ends up letting him know what happened, and she said, listen, I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but I really thought that I could handle it. I really thought that I'd be able to take care of this, and I wouldn't have to involve you because, you know, I just don't want my past to keep, you know, coming into play with what we got going on now. And so he said, well, what about Blue? Because she explains to him what happened. He says, about 2 weeks ago. He was like, 2 weeks ago. She said, when I was in D.C., you know, I ran into an old friend. She saw Blue, yada, yada, yada. And he was like, well, what about Blue? He said, what if this man comes down here and he wants my son? What if he comes down here and he wants to see my son? Like, I'm not sharing my son with this man. Like, I'm not doing that. You know, and he told her, he said, last night, if Micah wasn't there, I probably would have killed that man. And she said, you don't think that I want to do that? Like, you don't think I've had those feelings before of wanting to hurt him? Like, you don't think I've done that? She said, I promise you, you're not going to have to, we're not going to lose Blue. He's not going to be a part of our life. And Ralph Angel tells her, that's not something you can promise. She said, yes, I can. Because the last thing he wants is for this story to get out. And if he insists on causing problems, then I will go to every news story, you know, CNN, NBN, and MSNBC. I will go to all of them and tell my story. And he said, Darla, are you sure? Like, you could barely handle the book. Are you sure you ready to go on national television? She was like, yeah, you know, to save my family, yeah, I got that. I said, okay, Miss Darla. Now, while this is going on, ain't Vi and Hollywood about to sit down and have dinner with the boys, and they get this knock on the door, and I'm thinking it was like CPS or something, because the way they was knocking like they was the popo. But it ended up being Joaquin's dad. And, of course, it's bittersweet. Like, they're happy to see him. They're glad that he got out of the detention center and that he's back. But, of course, you know, ain't Vi and Hollywood, they, you know, just like anybody would, they've grown attached to the boys. So they end up having dinner, and the dad thanks them, but he said, and they said, well, you know, why don't you stay here? We know you're tired. And he was like, no, the agency that I'm working with have, you know, they gave me a motel room, and I just want, you know, hang out with my kids and, you know, and get to know my kids and spend some time with my kids down to the motel. And, you know, of course they were like, all right, we get it. But, you know, they were sad to see them go, obviously. Child Michael finally called his mama and apologized, child. I said, too much, too little, too late. Y'all remember the song. Y'all know the song. Anyway, moving on. So, last but not least, Darla calls Chase to come down to the spot, you know, Hollywood situation. So he comes in there and he don't see nobody at first. He just see Darla. He's like, hey, Darla, it's good to see you. She was like, well, the feeling is not mutual. So next thing you know, here come Ralph Angel coming out of the shadows. And he was like, whoa, 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 I don't want no problems. She said, oh, won't be no problems. And he starts talking and Ralph Angel tells him, shut up. And he was like, oh, let me put a pin in that. Let me go ahead and finish up Nova. Nova goes to see the girl and sparks fly. And you can definitely tell that there's something there. And what we find out is that Nova basically left this woman. She probably was at that point dealing with her sexuality and trying to process everything. But she done left that woman, and the woman was like, yeah, I saw your dad a couple of times, and he gave me your number, but I didn't think you wanted to hear from me after the way you left, after the way you left us hanging. Like, I didn't think you wanted to hear from me. And she was like, you know, Nova was like, well, I'm going to give you my number. Like, will you call me this time? Child, Nova about to get in trouble. Anyway, back to the spot. So, Ralph Angel tells old boy to shut up, and he keeps talking. Ralph Angel starts advancing on him. So then Hollywood was like, and so she was like, look, that's my husband. He here to make sure that you don't do nothing to me, and that's Hollywood. He's here to make sure that my husband don't do nothing to you. And then Aunt Vi comes through, and Aunt Vi was like, yeah, and I'm just the wild card. You don't never know which way I'm gonna go. So Darla tells him, listen, We got some paperwork for you to sign, and if you sign this paperwork, we all good. So the first paper was paternity. He was like, I ain't that man, I'm not that boy's daddy. So what are you talking about paternity? She said, okay, then if you're not the father, then it should be no problem with you signing that paper, giving up your parental rights, right? So he signs the paper. So then the next paper is like a stay away order. She was like, you have, that's for 5 days, and then I'm going to file it with the court. And he was like, no, I told you, I'm doing all of this to avoid courts. Like, I don't need any type of record. She was like, as long as you do what you supposed to do, it won't be no problem. I think that's when he got punched in the mouth by Ralph Angel. But they were able to pull him off. So they got to arguing, and he was like, listen, I never did nothing to you. She said, you raped me. You're a liar. You're this, you're that. She was like, and he was like, he said, I didn't do anything. He said, and I wasn't the only one. That's when Ralph Angel punched him in the mouth when he said he wasn't the only one, child. But they got Ralph Angel under control, and she was like, listen, we serious about this. Sign the damn paper. So he signed the paper. So then there was another paper about like a stay away order for Blue and the whole family. Okay, he signed that. Then it got to the last one where basically she got him paying $250,000 in a down payment and $20,000 a month for the next 3 years. He was like, that's $3 million. She was like, mm-hmm. She said, and if you are late on a payment or if you miss a payment, I'm going to be on the phone with the news. I'm going to be on the phone to tell my story. You're going to see me on your television screen telling that story. And he was like, what? I didn't do nothing to you. She said, let me tell you something. She said, I'm not guilty of doing anything but being around people that I trusted. And it doesn't matter if I was drunk. And it doesn't matter if I was high. It doesn't matter if I had on a miniskirt. What y'all did to me was wrong. And it was criminal. And I'm going to tell my story. So, baby, he signed that paper and he rolled up out of there as fast as he could get there, child. And so I said, well, we got closure with that. And that's pretty much where this episode ended. This actually was a pretty good episode. It was a pretty good episode. I definitely see where they're going with trying to close loopholes and give us some foundational type things. So, y'all let me know what y'all think. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.